All right, let's go ahead and get started. Folks can keep joining as we get moving with our summer sales session. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Pam Torrey. I am the marketing director for Engage, and we are so happy to have you all here today. Let me just give you a quick orientation to how we're going to be handling Zoom today. I know most of you are old hats when it comes to a Zoom webinar. But if you do have any questions during the course of the webinar, please feel free to utilize that Q&A feature. The Q&A feature really allows us to be able to manage the questions and determine if we've answered it, if we're going to answer it, or if we're going to send you a follow-up afterwards. If you have any technical issues or would like to comment on the proceedings, please feel free to use the chat feature for that. Our lovely, helpful co-hosts, Morgan and Maddie from Engage and Leap respectively, are on the line to help out with any technical issues that you might be having on the back end while Tom and I conduct the interview. So without further ado, let's hop on into our summer sales session, how to lay the foundation for sales success. So I have already introduced myself and talked a little bit, but once again, Pam Torrey, I'm the Director of Marketing at Engage, and we are so lucky to have a couple of friends here today. Tom, would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. I'm the Director of Business Development at Leap, but I think more importantly and more relatively, I've been in the home improvement industry for 22, 23 years as a laborer, an installer, a project manager, sales, all of that. And I've been on the software side the last 6 years, first at Hover and now at Leap. And excited to be here and learn more about Jeff and what they're doing.
Great. And Jeff, if you'd just like to give us a quick overview of who you are, we'll dive into East Coast Roofing in a little bit, but just who you are.
Absolutely. My name's Jeff Kay, President and CEO of East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows. We are headquartered in Mays Landing, New Jersey. I'm honored to be here with these fine folks with Leap and Engage, and I look forward to this.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
So this is what's going to happen today. We are quickly going to just give you a clue as to who we are, and wouldn't be a webinar if we didn't, say hi and give you a little overview of what our products do, especially because Jeff's going to be talking about some of that. Then we're going to discuss a little bit more about East Coast Roofing and the company history. Then we have a great interview for you where Tom and I will be asking Jeff questions just about how he got where he is today and helped to grow the business. Then we're going to do a quick wrap up with some Q&A, and please stick around until the end because we have a great raffle item for one lucky webinar guest who is sticking around till the end of the webinar. So make sure you stay tuned for that. All righty. So Tom, would you like to give us the quick overview of just what Leap is for anyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, at a high level, Leap is a sales enablement platform. And so what that means is it does everything from helping you maintain your margins, helping you price out projects correctly, giving your sales reps the ability to actually just sell and not deal with paperwork. So we do things like estimates, contracts, proposals, work orders, inspection sheets, any kind of document you would have a sales rep do, any type of document you may have production do. It houses all your resources. It's got 14 different integrations to lenders, 6 or 7 different integrations to CRMs. We've got payment processing partners, and really what we want to be is the point of sale solution for your sales team.
Great. I'll give you guys a quick overview of who Engages. So we help companies to be able to create interactive presentations that leverage high quality images, videos, text, all of that natively within our platform and interactivity to help engage your audience and hopefully close more deals. Big part of our product that's not the most visible element is the sharing and measuring components. So in addition to creating dynamic, engaging, interactive content, we also allow you to keep everybody on the same version always. So if you make one update in a presentation and save it, it pushes out to everybody who has access to that. And then finally, we have rich analytics on the back end that help you to be able to understand what your reps are doing when they're selling in the home, and be able to determine, maybe what your best rep is doing versus your newer reps who maybe need some coaching, and help to be able to train to those behaviors and hold them accountable. And the most fun part about this is that Leap and Engage actually work together, and we do have an integration. Very exciting for us. So you can actually jump seamlessly from one application to another. So Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about where Engage lives within Leap?
Yeah, I talk with Charlie about this all. I'd say we're like peanut butter and jelly. Like we go together just so well together. Part of when a sales rep's in the home, they're obviously going to price stuff out. They're hopefully going to sign a contract, but they're also going to tell the story about themselves and the material they're using in their company and all those things. And so to have a sales rep in one place be able to seamlessly, go back and forth between these two solutions is really powerful. And so Jeff and team, we've built a great integration that lives within the resource section, and it, like Pam said, you're able to touch into it, get your presentation, and go right back into Leap to hopefully sign a contract at the end of that.
Hopefully, that's the goal.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Close more deals.
Right.
Great. So thank you for sticking with us through our short commercial break where we just let you know who was here. Now I'd like to dive into our interview. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen because I find in interviews having a slide up for the whole interview looks a little sad when we could actually be able to see Jeff's face as he's answering questions and really have some interaction. So Jeff, let's go ahead and dive on in. I would first just like to know a little bit of the background on East Coast Roofing and how did you end up there?
Absolutely. So East Coast Roofing was started in 1979 by a guy named Larry Steitler. Larry still owns the company. It's a privately held company. His story is he started it with a pocket full of change and a prayer, right? So he comes from a long line of roofers, went out on his own, started the business with the idea of the business to help the community, to help those in need, right? So the whole idea here, our big picture mission is to see if we can make a difference worldwide. And we currently do that with the revenue generated by the remodeling projects we do. So we do, Larry oversees a lot of work in from here in our own neighborhood over to Guatemala. He's pretty deeply rooted over there. So just helping people in need, that's really what it's all about at the end of the day.
And so how did you come to the business and become part of this organization?
So I had a family member working here and I got to know Larry and the family a little bit and started doing some consulting with him a little. And the direction he wanted to take the company was to grow it, get it passed on to the next generations, and find a way for him to retire, right? So we were able to put a plan together and I came on board after consulting with him for 6 to 9 months. We came on board, came to an agreement, and here we are. So that was in October of 2016 when I started on board, and we're almost 6 years later.
Wow. And so I would love to hear a little bit about your personal just background and how you became this sales leader in the industry.
Absolutely. So I have a very diverse background, right? I've worked in multiple industries, everything from different sectors of the remodeling industry, transportation industry. And one of the things I had come to learn is industry really doesn't matter. Business is business, sales are sales. But I came through a very diverse experience, many industries at many levels. But I did find a passion for doing in-home one-call close sales. Loved it. It's a rush. You get they call it the seller's high when you get that close first call. So that was an opportunity that was here. And what ended up happening, we came in. This was a company with a great reputation, a great company story, and we definitely have something to sell here, right? We're quality first. We're value focused. We're not focused on cheap prices. So the sales process is very important. So I had the ability coming in here to create all that, and we've proven it to be very successful. We have our closing numbers, our sales numbers, our average tickets much higher than industry standards. And we like to believe that is partly in due to the process, and then partly in due to the company's reputation and just who we are and how we help the community.
Jeff, that's great. I'd like to maybe dive a little deeper into that. So when you came in, how did you begin taking stock of the systems and auditing the processes that were already in place?
Great question. So a whole lot of these notebooks right here, right? I spent a lot of time in each department of the company. All right. At the time, there was, I think there may have been 9 to 10 employees here. Different departments, very small. So what I did, I spent some time in each one, right? I'm just jotting notes. My primary focus was, how does the customer move through the process? How do they get introduced to us all the way through a final payment? And I was also trying to make note of the important things to me were, where were we missing, right? Where were we swinging and missing? And it really came down to process. And in today's world, it came down to technology. So that was really how I began to try to redevelop and restructure what we were doing. Also recognizing, listen, what gets you to 4 million won't get you to 10 million, what gets you to 10 million won't get you to 20, and so on. So the team was very important with that as well. They understood we need to make change to grow. Growth is good for everybody.
Jeff, what were the original 6 years ago? What were the goals then, and what are they today? And like, how are you planning on getting to those goals?
So the goals have changed significantly.
Yeah.
Our goals at the time, 6 years ago, once we implemented the sales process, selling $1 million a month seemed like years and decades away, right? So we were just trying to get leveled out at like 500,000 a month in sales. It would be great if we could install 300,000 to 400,000 a month, right? To not out install ourselves. And really, I use the analogy, we filled the glass, right? It's an analogy we use here. We fill the glass up and we find all the holes in the glass. So you take the time, let it drain back down, we plug the holes, let's fill it up again and see what happens. And in those early stages, there's a lot of work done in spreadsheets. There's a lot of work, it's manual, right? So, where we are today, I mean, our goal is we'd like to sell 2.5 million a month is the goal, to install 2 to 2.2 a month. That's where we're at right now. So the goals have changed significantly, and everything everywhere in between on the way.
Jeff, what were the goals 6 years ago when you came in?
When I came in, I mean, it was just to one call close. It was just to sell some jobs. The process before I got here, they had 2 people. It's important to understand that, I guess, right? To explain that. When I came in, it was run very much old school, I'll call it, right? Very, like we call chucking a truck, where they had 2 guys who would run the houses, anywhere between 12 and 30 houses a day. Wow. And they would just measure, they do a quick inspection and work on putting a proposal together that the office staff would mail out the next day to the homeowner. And every day you hope some deposit checks come in, some signed contracts. So the ultimate goal was, okay, let's become efficient. Let's control it. Let's build transparency with the homeowners. Let's sell our company stories, sell our installation processes, sell our company processes, sell our product. And implementing financing was a big thing. We had no financing really to speak of. So they were the goals coming in. Hey, let's just build a sales process, set qualified appointments to get a trained salesperson in front of all the decision makers in a home and close the business. So we were able to do that pretty quickly. That did not take long. I think 3 months. I was here 90 days. I started in October, January. We started running those sales appointments. I was able to build a sales process, train a team of 3 people. And we sold enough, in the first quarter of the year that we had to stop. We had to turn business away at that point and only serve our existing customers or warranties, things like that, until we could patch all the holes in the glass that we found.
Yeah, sure.
So Jeff, you mentioned about training your the current employees
Yes.
who were there when you came into the company.
Mm-hmm.
So when you looked at that training process and when you looked at the prospect of having to onboard new hires, especially
Yes.
into your sales organization, I'm wondering how you specifically approached auditing the training process as you came into the company. You know, I've been thinking about things a lot as like keep or toss.
Yes.
So, you know, when you came in and you were looking at what was already in place, how did you approach kind of the keep or toss system? And then how did you decide what processes and what training elements needed to be included for your next hire?
So when, in the beginning stages, I'm building out PowerPoints. That's what I'm doing. And we're spending 4 weeks in a classroom type setting where I'm training people and we're role playing every aspect of it. I created scripts for every slide in the PowerPoint, things of that nature. Very labor intensive, very time consuming. And because of that, you may have a new hire. I'm speaking about sales strictly, right? You may have a new hire at that point that you're invested 4 or 6 weeks with to find out, this isn't working. It's just not a right match. But that's how we were doing it. And then, of course, trying to evaluate somebody once they hit the street, right? When they don't sell something, you ask what happened. You almost sort of interview them about it, and you try to go. You have to take what they're telling you happened, and you have to tie it back to what the training is, and say, okay, here's how you avoid running into that again. And it's really a lot of trial and error, especially in the beginning, just trying to figure out what will work, what won't. Just it takes a huge commitment to continue that.
So I'm curious, as someone who's in this industry, I think like I've been hearing a lot of this. I'm sure Tom's heard tons of this in his conversations with contractors about retention being a huge issue with especially sales reps. There's been a lot of company hopping, a lot of industry hopping. How do you focus on the systems and the processes that you have built in to focus on retention, focus on growth for your team? And how do you leverage different technologies and operational systems to support that?
Absolutely. So we're fast forwarding to today, correct?
I think we can discuss this through your process because you
Okay.
have grown your team. So how have you successfully retained employees, and
Okay.
What's changed in that approach to retention?
So we actually do really well with employee retention as it relates to salespeople, right? There's a lot of focus on it's having the mindset. You tell us what we need or what you need to be successful, and we're going to provide that for you within reason, right? So a lot of where we've gotten to, right, as we go through these break points in the business, let me take a step back. You go through some different break points in a business, right? Meaning different levels, different volume. The business requires different things, right? Processes change constantly. So number one, we're very transparent when we hire people. We let them know the only constant here is change. Although it's a cliche, it's the truth. And I use the analogy of turning a big ship in a rough ocean, right? When you start to make the turn, it gets very rough and gets very rocky. People get nervous. Some people want to bail out. But you have to understand once it turns so far, it smooths out on you, right? So we're very transparent when we hire people regarding that. The other thing is we back that up. We make changes every day, right? So they see it from day one. But everybody understands that change is for the better of the company. It's for the better of the employees. And everybody here, every team member we have thoroughly understands the value of tracking and accountability. So we have almost all employees here have a two-part compensation, right? They have a salary or an hourly wage, but we have a performance-based aspect to all of their compensation as well. Once they have that, they're very interested in the tracking and the accountability and the monthly goals and things of that nature. So, as time marches on here, technology becomes more and more relevant. It streamlines everything, gives us the ability to have a window into how can we help each person. It's not so much, we hold them accountable to the numbers, to the performance. But if they're not hitting those numbers, it doesn't mean they're bad. It means they need some coaching. And then how do we figure out what areas to coach them in? Well, the more detailed we get with our processes, the more often we're managing that information, the sooner we can dive in and save them before they drown. I don't know if that makes sense, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. Tom, you sounds like you've got some thoughts.
Yeah, no, I just I'm just trying to think through. I guess I'm I'm thinking through the lines of like, how do you ensure consistency, amongst the group of new hires or even existing employees.
Absolutely.
And what what does that look like, and how do you get it?
Yeah, so fast forwarding to today, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we use Leap and we use Engage, right? But truth be told, the way we monitor, manage, and keep consistency in our sales process as related to the sales process with the salespeople is through Engage. It's been a huge tool for us for that. And the reason is, so, we build a presentation that's really, we're telling a story in every house, right? And how's it relate to a homeowner? So there's a purpose to every step of our process. So let's say, for example, Tom, you're out selling and we say, wow, you've only closed 3 out of your last 10 appointments. And that means you didn't sell 7 of them and 5 of them told you it was too expensive. So we know we're going to role play with you through your rapport building process and how are you building value.
Yep.
And then we can tie that back directly to those engaged slides. Now, naturally, before we do that, we're looking at the analytics. We may find, wow, Tom spends 15 seconds on this page and this page. Well, that's why he's getting it's too expensive. He's not building the value. He's not slowing down. He's not price conditioning. So that's how we're able to coach and keep them accountable to certain KPIs on the sales team, right? The consistency is also built into the presentation. So, I mean, Engage has made onboarding, it's a fraction of the time now when it comes to training new salespeople, undoubtedly. It's been very valuable to us, and we continue to try to find new ways to use it, because Engage can be used as a training tool, simply as a training tool as well internally, not just for a sales presentation. So we're sort of exploring those sorts of things. As far as consistency, I'll tell you one of the biggest challenges we've had historically here is how are contracts written. How are things priced? We could send 4 different people to the same exact house to price out the same exact job, and we get 4 different contracts with different verbiage. You end up with 4 different prices somehow, and that's a constant. And unless you have technology for that, you're always including the element of human error, right? And you'll never fix that. That will never be 100%. That's where Leap comes into play. Our goal is, if we can take the technology, if we can gain enough technology to take a professional salesperson and all they have to do is go in and focus on the homeowner and sell, and not be worried about, did I say this correctly on a contract? Did I include all the pricing? Not worried about their commission taking a hit for some reason. When we can get to that point, we've created maximum efficiency. So, not that this is a commercial spiel, right? But it's the truth. Those 2 pieces of technology have created they're creating a lot of efficiency, a lot of accuracy, and consistency in what we do. It's huge for growth, because what we do, right, in order to grow, in order to scale, what you do has to be predictable, and it has to be able to be duplicated. So I'm not even sure how you do that successfully and efficiently without having technology like these.
Jeff, when did you realize that was going to be an important piece of the growth of the company?
Day one. Yeah, day one when I came in. I mean, just the amount of effort it takes to try to create all that stuff, So, for example, right, let's talk about using Leap as opposed to your salespeople trying to write contracts, right? That is the definition of insanity. Doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to fix it. You're always going to have the same issues. You're always going to. I'm not really sure how you fix that. And the places I worked prior to being here, when I was a salesperson, the companies I worked at were the largest in the country in their respective spaces. Now I'm going back, right, just to date myself a little bit. There was not technology like this back then, but I can tell you these companies, again, they were the largest, a lot of money in R&D and trial and error. And I can tell you those problems, even at companies that were nationwide, had the exact same problems with contracts, with pricing. Somehow we would sell one, we all sold the same product and we'd have different contracts. We'd turn in the same exact product, right? So I'm not even sure I knew that from day one. There has to be a technology that just makes it consistent. Somebody can check some boxes as a salesperson and it'll create the contract for us. It's consistent. There's nothing missed. It's bulletproof from a legal standpoint. Everything's good. So yeah, from day one, I mean, and as far as a presentation, the analytics of Engage are what are really a difference maker for us. Like I can paint some pictures of some things and create a similar, well, as it comes to a sales presentation, I can create a similar type presentation, but that's it. It's one dimensional. I can't really do anything else with it. Engage, it does, number one, it does not look like a PowerPoint's professional looking. It has a different look to it, but the analytics in the background are really, that's how we're managing salespeople from the office, outside salespeople. So yeah, I don't know how you would really do it. I mean, it can be done, you can manage them, but how efficient can you possibly make it? Most people try to minimize their faults, so to speak. They don't like to take responsibility and admit they could have done something different. The numbers don't lie.
I was going to say, it's almost like having somebody ride along, with the sales rep and be at each appointment.
Absolutely.
That's the level of insight it gives. I know, Pam's got some more questions, but also talked a lot about like the employee experience and stuff, but what's it been like from a customer experience standpoint? Like, going back 6 years to the experience that they had with, if a homeowner can get 6 different prices from 6 different sales reps, I got to imagine that the experience they have today seems much more, if nothing else, perceived value added. But do you know like what kind of customer experience you're delivering now by using these things?
So I think the most important thing is transparency and clarity with the homeowners. We take the time, right? We're going to sit down and spend the time. And again, that our presentation is built out to explain a lot of the details that if left to you just to explain, you'll skip right over. We just had a sales meeting this morning, in fact, and it was a topic. We were talking about siding. And as we continue to develop our presentation, we're realizing if left to the sales reps, they don't talk about seam tape and J channel, right? They don't talk about those little details. They're the difference makers. So our sales manager right now is working on the Engage presentation on some of the siding aspect to include some of those details. So I think from a homeowner perspective, there's more clarity on what it is they're paying for, what to expect when the project happens. They're also a little more comfortable. We've expanded, so the demographic has changed, meaning 6 years ago, 90% of this business was in 2 counties of the state of New Jersey. The company always did a really good job. We have a jingle that works, so blasted it on the radio for 20 years. Everybody knew East Coast. So company story was not that important. They already knew the owner and the family, and they knew all this. But now, with the demographic changing, people are comfortable hiring us. That was a struggle for our sales team, right? They were used to people just wanting to hire East Coast, but now, we're traveling 2 hours away from the office to go sell a job. They don't know who East Coast is. Frankly, they don't care until we make them care about who we are, and they're comfortable doing it because we have a great company story and a presentation that's something we can give them, visuals. Also, I mean, just to touch on it, the other great thing with Engage is how you can embed videos. So we have videos in our presentation of the owner, Larry, speaking to the homeowner about why East Coast is a great company and why we feel it's important to help the community, things like that. So it's pretty cool. You bring Larry right into the house, and it makes the homeowners comfortable. Say, hey, here's the owner speaking right to you. So I think that probably answers it, Tom. I think it brings more clarity and transparency. Plus, we look, it's a much more professional presentation.
Yeah. Jeff, just one more thing, and I promise, Pam, I'll let you ask questions.
It's all right.
I'm just so
I have a couple
fascinated.
of thoughts, but
Okay.
I trust you, Tom. I trust you implicitly to do a good interview.
Oh
with
no, no,
everyone.
I'm just curious. This is great. Jeff, like when you came in and you decided to implement this kind of technology and I'd really say like investing in the business. I mean, what was it like to get buy-in from the business to make these kind of investments and
Well,
not just technology but hardware and stuff too? I mean, there was a lot of investment here. What was that conversation like?
tremendous investment.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So the team, let's just talk about the sales team for a minute, right? Sales team, their mouths were watering over it. Anytime we talked about it, I would get questions. I was running the sales team for a while here. I'd get questions every other week, like, hey, when are we getting this? When is this happening? Because they get tired of jobs getting put on hold because something isn't correct. And, as we grow, processes change. So we lose clarity on what can we do, what can't we do, right? So at that level of the team, who are not concerned about costs or anything like that, or focus and resources, total buy-in from them. But at high level ownership management type positions, a little bit different. I understand. I always had this understanding. We don't spend a dime. There's not an employee that costs us a dime. Everything's an investment into the company because in my mind, I'm looking at where we're going. Now, just truth be told, would we need any of that if we were just looking to find a way to stay static and not move anywhere? We probably wouldn't, right? We'd be okay staying where we are. But in order to get buy-in where I needed it, I had to show opportunity costs. Like you may not be able to track every dollar or minute that you're losing due to lack of process, but let me show you what we're currently doing, and let me show you what I believe we can do with this if we invest in this technology and we build this out and we implement it properly. Here's what I believe we will do, right? And then the salesman in me says, but what if we can only do half of it? Look how much more we get done. We do more with less. So, it is tough. It depends. It's a mindset thing, right? It depends where the ownership is. If they're committed, if they're truly committed to growing and becoming more efficient, even if you wanted to stay the same size, which really means you're going out of business, that's a whole nother topic. But even if you wanted to do that, you're going to become more efficient, and time is money, and you become more profitable. And I can tell you over time, we have seen our efficiency increase with these products. These are just a couple components, but pretty large components. We've seen margins get better. We've seen profits increase because we can do more with less. I mean, listen, where the company is built right now, I 100%, my team would tell you this, they hear me say it all the time. Because of the technology we have the ability to do 3 times what we're currently doing. We could probably do 3 times the business and the revenue right now and only hire maybe 6 more people. And that's really for sales and marketing type stuff. The infrastructure's here, and without technology, we would be nowhere near that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
So Jeff, full disclosure, I've known Jeff for a while. We've talked before, so I feel like I have a good understanding of, how you run your business. And something that you have said to me multiple times that has really made an impact on me personally is that you like to look at what you're comfortable with and what your team is comfortable with and then change it up.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of this discussion around technology is specifically around kind of making everybody a little uncomfortable to get to where you want them to be. So I'm wondering, since you've been with the company for 6 years now, how do you approach on a regular, consistent basis with the team, figuring out where those comfort areas are that you need to go in and disrupt? Like, how do you figure that out?
So, great question. It's very easy to identify, especially if you're able to track KPIs on things, right? Wherever something is not working, I can guarantee you there's a level of comfort there. And that's why it's not working. Guaranteed. Because I can give you an example. Anytime we've gotten a new sales manager here, all of a sudden, sales team, the numbers fly up. They shoot up. And we change nothing but the manager, who has done nothing yet, but they're now uncomfortable. So they get on their game. They're on the ball. They're doing what they're supposed to do every time, But it sticks out when a company like this, where we're growing rapidly, those areas of comfort stand out because it's the exception to the rule here, right? Our role is uncomfortable. We're always changing. It's like everybody's busy because it's all, every week it's new. It's never the same job coming in because there's so much change. Again, with technology, I mean, we build processes. Every process changes every time we implement something new with technology. It changes our processes. So it's got everybody on the ball. And what's funny is as you work through those processes, everything gets very tight, everything's sharp, everything's on point. And then there's this thing called the 90-day phenomenon in sales. When you hire a new salesperson, a lot of them, they start out strong, they're killing it. And then they get comfortable and their numbers fall off. And it's every reason except them. I mean, you see it so many times. Well, it's the same thing when we change processes. Everything works great. We're like, yeah, we got to this one, check that box. And then, a few months down the road, you start seeing these problems arise. You go, well, what happened? This was working. What changed? And we dive in and we say, well, nothing changed. Somebody's letting some things slide by. They're getting comfortable with the process. So that's how that's how I identify it. It stands right out to me. It's again, our management team here would tell you, you probably don't want to look comfortable when I'm walking through,
Wow. I love that.
Listen, it's all about the best interests of the company, which
yeah.
If the company grows, everybody grows with it. That's the idea.
Well, I think that Tom and I can probably relate to that too on a level, working at fast growing companies ourselves. They may not be in-home sales, but I think we can relate to the comfort level. I sure can, from the perspective of Ingage itself.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, and you're right. The industry doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's all the same. I mean, people are people, sales are sales, dollars in, dollars out, or dollars in, dollars out. It doesn't matter where it is. Processes are what they are. So yeah, comfort is, it should be recognized. I mean, it's good to get comfortable. People get comfortable, but that's when they rest on their laurels. That's when they start to they just stop watching. They're not concerned anymore,
Jeff, when I was in the Marine Corps, they used to say complacency kills.
There you go.
You don't want to be complacent.
Another way of saying it. Yes. And I'll tell you,
that was more in a literal sense.
No, well, of course, yeah, it's a little different here. But yeah, it's something I do, and I probably do it because I'm not comfortable being comfortable like that. Like in the workplace, I need to understand that we're moving forward and we're progressing. And if I have a day where I come in and it's comfortable, it's a comfortable environment for me, I have to go find a problem to dig into. There has to be. The company's never done growing. I don't care if you're doing $3 billion a year in roofing sales. There's still more to be had. There's still more growth. So yeah, I think comfort's the killer.
So I'm curious, when you're looking at these new processes that you're putting in place, when you're out there making everybody uncomfortable and getting results, how are you identifying the partners that you bring into your business, and how do you figure out who what the right fits are for new companies to bring on board as technology partners or as financing partners? How do you audit when you're talking to a new company or interviewing, a prospective financing partner or something, as an example? Like, how do you figure out who you want to work with? I'm very curious about this.
Yeah, so it's a great question. I have to understand the vision of the partner, right? I try to do some digging in as much as I can, almost interviewing, like with Ingage, right? How long has Ingage been around? Why is it around? Where is it going? Who are you partnered with? What are you folks working on? How can you help me? And how can I help you? because that's a real partnership. A real partnership goes both ways. So for me to understand, like, how can we actually partner on this, and how can we both benefit, that it's about a win-win, that's important to me. And obviously you have to offer some sort of solution to our business, but yeah, I mean, that's it, and credibility. I mean, I'm real big. I'm a straight shooter. We all are here at East Coast, so we look for the same thing with everybody else. When you're up front and straight with each other, it saves a lot of time, a lot of beating around the bush. It's how we do business. And again, it's got to be a win-win. We want a win-win. Everybody's got to win. If you're not winning, you won't stay in the game.
So between bringing on board these technology partners, and you talked about how you believe with the current team that you have, by just adding like a handful of employees, you're really going to be able to drastically scale your business with all the technology that you have. I'm curious to hear what the key points of automation that you've brought on board are. What are those key elements within the sales process, whether that's, something related to the contracts that you've talked about with Leap, or some of the other financing tools you have, or other things that you believe are kind of the secret sauce that's going to allow you to be able to scale the business as quickly as you think you can.
So the automations really come through the integrations with each of these tools, right? So let's just talk about Engage and Leap and how they are integrated with each other. Engage sits inside of Leap, right? So like Leap is great because that's my sales team. That's theirs. That's what they work out of. They still need to go into our CRM here and there because of messaging and things like that. But on the daily, they work out of there. The calendar's in there. That's where they're working. Again, Engage is in there. Our financing is tied in with Leap, full integrations. Our measuring tool, fully integrated all around. So having all that stuff set up from just in the back office, yes, we see a lot that goes on with it, a lot of moving parts. But as far as the end user being our salespeople, to them, it's one seamless tool. It's all good. It's easy. And it's efficient, right? Also, and it's fully in, everything is just integrated down the line. So it gives measurements, material orders to our production team, so they know what to order. It's just all seamless for everybody. And if we can't do that, it makes the process easy, right? So it makes training easy, and we can hold people accountable to it.
Jeff, what did the process look like before when you came in, as opposed to today where everything's so seamless and easy?
Yeah, I mean, what it looked like before, when I came in, again, you had somebody going out to measure a job. They put a proposal together without really speaking to a homeowner, right? Homeowner says, I want a price on a roof. Guy goes out, looks at a roof, measures it, comes back, puts a proposal together. The office mails this out. Well, homeowner gets it and goes, okay, great. New roof, it's 10 grand. Okay, cool. Send a check, sign the paperwork, send it in. Well, then the materials would get ordered. Sometimes it wasn't enough material. Sometimes it was too much material. If it was too much, well, now who knows how long that material may sit in the homeowner's yard, right? Before it can get picked up by somebody. If it's not enough, hopefully we can go get the right material that day to finish the job. I mean, it was so everything was compartmentalized because nobody wanted to own up to what mistakes we already knew were going to be built into this process. And then when you order too much material and I don't know, we miss it, the installer doesn't take it back, whatever the case. Well, we definitely paid for too much material in that job. I can tell you that.
And the homeowner wants a refund. And
oh yeah, right, because they think they paid for the extra 5 square shingles that was sitting there. Yeah, it turns into a nightmare. And you want to tell them, well, we already lost almost everything we were making on it. I can't give you any more money back.
Jeff, how are they? How are they pricing? Where were they getting their pricing for the projects? Like, is it Excel spreadsheet or something?
They had a measurement formula, and everything was priced per product. So they would measure and figure out how many linear feet of starter strip they need, and how many square of underlayment, and how many feet of ridge cap shingles, and everything was left to the human element. Whereas now, again, with our measuring, we have a waste factor. We know what we use. It's all calculated in right in Leap. So we can go to your house. We have that measurement report pulled. It's fully integrated. It auto populates. We can add what we want to add, but inside of Leap, our waste factors are calculated. So whether you go there, Pam goes there, I go there, it doesn't matter who goes to price the job. It's factored correctly. It's priced correctly. And if it's not, well, it wouldn't have mattered who went. That's a company problem. We'll figure that one out.
Yeah, if it's able to work with me going to price your job, like it's got to be foolproof there. I have never priced a roof.
You could. You could.
Pam, that's going to be the next. That's going to be the next commercial. We're going to stick an iPad in Pam's hand, and she's going to go out there and do the full thing. That'll be great. Jeff, just to be fair too, though, you're not just using Leap and Engage. I mean, you're using a third-party measurement provider. You're using lenders. You've got a CRM. You've got a lot of other pieces that are in this mix that all have to talk to each other as well in order to get to where you guys are today. So this wasn't just a Leap and Engage came in and waved a magic wand and now you guys are better. I mean, you've invested into growing and improving the business across a lot of different aspects of the business. How did, when you came in, how did you focus on, or did you focus on one area, or did you make a priority list of like, hey, we need to start here and just work down this list? What did that process look like when you came in? Were there things that were good that you were like, hey, these are great, these are fine, they're doing, we need to add these other 2, 3, 4 components, or, what did that look like?
So when I first came in, that was why I did my best to assess the company as a whole by each step of the process. First thing I noticed, there was way too much money on the street. Our AR was too big. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, well, there's 2 things that'll fix that, right? Process and financing. Financing is an easy one. I can teach these people how to sell financing. So we onboarded with a few finance companies. So that handled that, right? And then just as I assessed the company, I just sort of put my own priority list in order with things like that. And ultimately, for me, if I was to come into another company in this industry and do that, I'd probably assess it the exact same way because I know financing was a necessity, right? So we need
Jeff,
that.
When you say that, I don't mean to cut in, but I've heard like 3 to 7% of roofing companies offer financing. So it's like, you say it almost like it's a matter of fact that you needed to do that. But a lot of companies that may see this or watching whatever may not even think that financing is something that I should add to my business because, like you said, it made a big difference.
Well, I'll tell you this: this will sound weird. You want to run a business, you probably don't need financing. You want to run a company, it's not an option. You need financing. I mean, a business is something anybody can run a business out of their basement. If you're going to have a company and you're going to scale, you need financing. The roofing industry is interesting, like that stat you just threw out. So again, it's a mindset thing of ownership. Financing does not cost me a dime. My clients pay for the financing. So, one thing we don't do, I structure our pricing model. I always use this analogy. After the most successful business on planet Earth, it's the U.S. government. So think about taxes. Everybody pays taxes. It's a part of the game, whether you use the services that come with the taxes or not. You pay school taxes, whether you have kids that go to school there or not, right? Our pricing model is the same thing. Yeah. I mean, our finance points are factored in. We have a handful of financing programs that we can offer, but the costs are factored in. It doesn't matter. And somebody says, well, can I get a discount for paying cash? There is no discounts. We offer you the best price today. Like it's not an issue for us. So it's really a mindset thing. Financing. I mean, listen, I don't want to go off on the financing topic, but I can go for hours on that.
We'll get you on some other time to have a whole conversation about how to present. Like seriously, I want to do something on how to present financing. So we'll have you back.
It's a big need, Jeff. Like it's a big thing. There are a lot of folks that don't understand.
It fixes AR. It's a marketing tool. And it's an option for homeowners. Roofing specifically, it's not a sexy purchase, right? It's not a cheap investment. Most people don't prepare for it. So how do they handle it? Well, you need to have a financing option.
Yeah.
That was what I did. I just assessed everything one thing at a time. And there was no specific order. It was based on the needs that we discovered.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, I think we're nearing the end point today. I don't want to keep everybody beyond the time allotted. So if anybody has any questions for Jeff, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A. We're happy to answer those. But I did want to make sure that everybody has the information to get in touch with us if you'd like it. And if you have any questions for Jeff, please feel free to send them to me. I'll pass them on to him just so that we are not blowing up his inbox with things, and I can consolidate them all into a single email and send them over to him. But thank you so much for joining us today. We do have a special raffle item coming at you for one lucky participant who has stayed on the line. It is this awesome Arctic cooler. It carries 30 cans. And we do have a winner. I believe Morgan sent me the winner. So if Tuesday Cummings is on the line, Tuesday just won an Arctic cooler. So Tuesday I will be in touch and send you an email to let you know that you can get this shipped to you.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
I tried to stick my name in that raffle, but that didn't work.
Yeah, it pays off to stick around for the entire webinar. Also, I think I learned about 12 different things today that we can take and go forward with 100%. As we continue working with this industry. So, Jeff, thank you for being here today. We're definitely going to have you back. I am very excited about having a conversation around how to present financing. So, Tom, we'll definitely we'll loop you guys in on that one, and we'll have a conversation about financing later. Wonderful. Yes, Tuesday won an awesome cooler and got to see one of my cats. There's one of my cats back here. The other one is camera shy.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Jeff, once again, thrilled that we were able to have you here. We were able to make this happen. Tom and the folks at Leap, thank you so much for being our partners in this process and joining in the interview. I always appreciate having you here.
Likewise, like milk and Oreos to go together, right?
We get along great. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We will get the recording to this out probably tomorrow in an email. So if any of your colleagues or friends were not able to attend, we will have a link to a YouTube video for you. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.